Good morning, it's Saturday, and welcome to Saba's Way of Life. We are in early October now. I think it's the 4th or 5th of October today. And this video is going to be a housekeeping and a long update video, because now sharing this way of life that I lead, and for those of you that have been following, you will see that there's now going to be a shift. If you go back 7 months ago when I started on the sleep video, I'll come back to that in a moment, but you'll see what I was sharing with you in the way of life at that time is very different to what you've seen in the last few months, because I'm somebody who grows her own food. I have a home grow system, and I live with the seasons. And living with the seasons means that when you are in the spring and in the summer, you start living a certain way of life that is in alignment to nature's principles. So I was growing food all summer. So most of you know that, and I was sharing what I was doing with you. So now we are transitioning, coming up to autumn, late autumn and winter. And everything's going to change here. So this is the moment. We've had the equinox. We've got the times changing, where we're going back to Greenwich Mean Time. I'm in the UK here, so we're coming out of daylight saving hours to Greenwich Mean Time. It's going to be darker, and of course this is where the garden goes to sleep for the winter. Now, let me just go through. It's worth getting a pen and paper for those of you who've been interested and who've been following everything I do. It's really important for you to understand what I'm going to speak about, even in this video, to understand everything I've been talking about in the previous videos. 7 months now I've been posting, though not every day, because this doesn't take over my life. I just share my way of life with you whenever I can. So the first thing is this. I will take you into the garden in a little bit, but let's talk about the things that I do and am doing right now. First thing is this. I take the time to stop and contemplate everything I've done this summer, and I write it down, because when you see it on paper, ideas will come to you. I've said this time and time again. So what did I grow this summer in the garden? What was successful? What wasn't? Now, these ideas tend to come to me first thing in the morning, especially when I know that it's something I want to do. You set the intention. It's not done deliberately. It's none of this, oh, do this and set this and miracles happen and the law of attraction. It's all nonsense. You just set the intention that this is what I need to do, and then your mind starts to follow through. If you live a way of life that's aligned to nature's principles, sleeping at the right time, eating the right foods. So then I do that, and it's very important. And then from that point, when you've written things down, well, look, I've grown this food this winter. I managed to clean out the camper van, and I learned this about the engine. I went to see this over there, watched a horse race. What did I find out about horses? What did I enjoy? What did I actually do to serve others this year? And I write these things down. This is important. So yes, I have my family. What did I do different with my mother and father this year? What did I learn? How did I help the community? Should I have done more? You write these things down. This is very important. What good works did I do? What things did I do or say that perhaps I shouldn't have done and I can change from? Was I grateful every day? Did I use my time effectively? Have I been cooking? What have I been cooking regularly? What can I change? What ideas can I incorporate for next year or for this winter? Write down things also you'd want to do for the winter. During the winter, you'll see when I share, a lot of what I'm going to be doing over the winter is I go into hibernation from the garden for sure, But my mind and our minds, remember, we are human beings, we're slightly different to animals and plants in that sense, is that we have the ability to absorb knowledge and information, but that's from the mechanical side of us. And in the winter, I use that mechanical side to learn. I love reading. So I will read and gain knowledge, but that doesn't mean that I believe that knowledge is the truth. In fact, sometimes I look at something and think, yep, that really makes sense to me. And then 2 months later, because I've learned so much more, and truth is dynamic, it changes too. It's not black and white. I learned something else, and then my perspective changes. My perspective changes all the time, and that is such a healthy thing to happen. You cannot be fixed of mind. We're nature changes all the time, but you're living in alignment to nature's principles, the law of the mind behind the universe, where you're able to discern and decipher at any given moment, and then you make choices from that place, which is in harmony and in a frequency aligned to nature. And even if this doesn't make sense to you right now, as you watch what I do and my way of life, it will. Now, I'm not suggesting that the way I live is the best way to live. What I am saying, which is an absolute truth, is that I am in harmony with my life. I'm in balance. There's nothing I want to change about my life. That doesn't mean I don't want to learn and grow, but I'm in harmony where I am right now. I'm not at any form of dis-ease in my mind. Do you understand? That's the difference. So if you want to have that, then there may be something that I'm doing that is probably in alignment to nature. And if you watch all the videos from the beginning, you'll get an idea. You don't have to do the same. It's the way I think that you may find interesting and useful. I don't fear anything. That wasn't the case a few years back, but it's a process, isn't it? And my health is blooming. Now, that doesn't mean it always will, because we change. I'm now in my mid to late 50s. There are going to be hormonal shifts coming up. I know they already are. So I'm ready. Now, because I've read and researched a lot of this, I've got some idea in my mind. I've got some knowledge, because I haven't got the knowledge passed down from my ancestors, because unfortunately we no longer live as families together, where generations, mother, father, grandfather, they're all around, grandparents and aunties and uncles, where they pass down this sacred knowledge. We don't have that. That's all done by design, but I won't go into that. Right? I don't have that. And even my mum and dad don't have huge amounts. They've got some knowledge, but not huge amounts, because, they've been working all their lives and they don't remember everything. And they never had time to share things with us. They've forgotten. So I speak to as many elders as I can. It's very valuable, and try and gain as much insight into old ways, because a lot of what we read isn't true either. History, for example, that we read from books, it's history, which is always written by the conquerors. But you have to be very discerning, and then your experience will tell you. So reading, I'm going to be reading things out of books to you, and that'll give you some insight. And also I'm going to be doing quite a lot of cooking and trying to put new recipes together using a lot of herbs. I'm developing a greater love for herbs since I've been gardening, and this year that's one of the things that's really been in my mind, the actual understanding that our medicine is all in the garden. The understanding. Now, here's something I'm going to say which is very pronounced. Whether you accept or reject it, that's your choice. I don't believe that anyone can truly understand who they are, really understand the importance of who they are and health, unless they grow their own food in their backyard or in an allotment. Why do I say that? I'm not suggesting here where if some of you are saying, well, I can't do that. No, that's all, you're talking mainstream thinking. That's not what I'm saying. That's something you have to deal with. Some of you go, I don't like it. Well, that's just the problem, because if you don't like it, then knowing that what we eat is so important, and understanding how it's grown and the process of it growing and sprouting, and then where does the nourishment come from, which is the soil, and then what is the quality of the soil. If these things aren't important to you, then you're watching the wrong channel. Go away and go and grab a Domino's pizza, or get something from the shops something organic from the shops, and if you think that is going to be healthy. That's not what health means. What I'm saying here is that over the last few years, I have nurtured my garden, I have nourished the soil, I have gained an understanding. This is also in accompaniment with reading and researching over many, many years, healing myself from Crohn's. I have recognized that what we put into our bodies has to be alive. And I'm not talking about meat being dead or alive. Listen to what I'm saying. Insofar as understanding the nature of what goes in. So I've understood that it doesn't matter what I grow in the garden. It's irrelevant. It's nutritionally void of any integrity, any nutritional integrity, if the soil isn't alive. If the soil isn't teeming with microorganisms, bugs, which then bacteria, germs, it's in there because they all have a role to play. And when the plant comes up, is it because it's nurtured with these ingredients and this nutrition? I watch them and I can feel them. They're alive. When I see my compost, you saw in a previous video when I had shared that Ian had come and we'd been digging, taking out the first third, the last third, which was the compost for next year. As we were shoveling it into the second section, go back and watch those videos, we stood back and I said to Ian, stop and look at the compost. It's moving. And you have to really look, you have to step back and look. And it was the whole mound of compost was moving. And that's because there were millions of bugs within it, not just worms, but things you can't even see. But when you see them together, remember to step back. I've always said this is so metaphoric. Step back and observe. You step back and observed, you saw the whole mound moving. That is alive compost. It is not the same stuff that you buy from the garden centre. And that's not me saying that you don't buy compost from the garden centre. I have. It's a transition. It's an understanding and understanding. The stuff that's in there that I'm putting is from what I've grown from the last 2 years. Then I put chicken manure in there. This year or next year, I'm going to find a source of horse manure or cow manure. I've already put it into my mind. I've got to find cow manure and put that into my heap next year, especially since I don't have the hens. I can even use horse manure. There's lots of stables around here. So that's already something I'm going to do for next year. And then when you when you harvest and eat that, it's alive, the greenery. Why do we need to eat greens? It's full of chlorophyll. Look at the role, look at plants, understand the biology of plants, which our ancestors knew. The oxygen in there. That's why so many people advocate, and I do now, of getting a good quality super greens, because we are not able to get enough from our land anymore. So if you can't, which most people can't, get your super greens, get a good quality, spend the money on that, and stop spending money on other bullshit like Netflix and Costa Coffee poison. Stop poisoning and killing yourself. Make a change. And not only is it important for your cells to flourish, because your blood needs to be moving with that oxygen that's coming in through what you do every day and what you eat, something happens in your brain. Not you think with clarity, but you also think outside the box. And I'm talking about something that's magical and esoteric. I've talked about this many times. Your connection to the mind behind the universe is so acute that you become what the humans used to be, which is totally telepathic. And you're in communion with all of those that are on a certain frequency. But it will be blocked if you have not looked after the vessel and the body that you live in, to allow that to open up. All right? That's what I'm saying. And I'm speaking from experience, from absolute experience, because magical things have happened in my life. And if you look, you're looking at me in a YouTube video, but if you were to meet me, and some of you on this channel have met me, this is how I look every day. I am not wearing any makeup. Look at my skin. I'm surprised to myself. First of all, I'm not attached to my identity. And yes, I'm getting older, and you can do face exercises. They call it face yoga, but move your muscles. Understand how muscles work. So I do this when I'm on long drives. I'm always doing things. I'm seeing now with my eyes here. I know I've changed subject and it's getting older here. You go on Instagram for the right reasons and find how face yoga works. I'm doing that now. I'm picking up different things because I don't have to pay for it. I just understand the mechanics and then start incorporating that in my everyday. If it doesn't bother you, then it doesn't matter, but it's good to keep your muscles toned. So muscles in your face as well. There's muscles everywhere. Laugh a lot more so that you don't get this. You get this. Massage. Go to massage. Massage your own face. I do this with coconut oil or castor oil. Castor oil has come into my life now, and I've been researching castor oil and it has magical effects. Look it up. Now 18 minutes. My God. Let's go into the garden. First of all, I want this is rosemary. No, that's rosemary, and this is lavender, and this is parsley. Now, I had trimmed the plants because you've got to trim, otherwise they go all woody. I've got the lavender and the rosemary. I put them in the greenhouse, but I'm not going to throw this away. So this has been pruned, and from this I'm going to use, I might dry it. I might try to make a little tincture with some oil and use it in my hair, because rosemary works very well in hair and the scalp. It helps it become thick, black, grow. Again, it's consistency. And I'm really interested in herbs more and more each day. And I'm going to do some research on that. You can use it obviously in your stews for the winter as well. And lavender, oh gosh, lavender is just wonderful in the wardrobe. When I take off the leaves and put it into a poultice and wrap it into sort of like a muslin cloth or something and put it in the wardrobe. And it also keeps moths and clothes moths and things away. Lots of things. Fingers smell lovely. So let's go into the garden, and I'm going to give you some ideas. Share some ideas that I've got for next year, and you might want to incorporate some of them. So I'm just putting a jacket on. I don't want to catch a cold. Right, it's a bit of a mess, but it is the transition time. I was in the garden all day yesterday and you would never think it. First up, let's go into the greenhouse, and I want to show you what's going on in there. Right, looks busy, doesn't it, in the greenhouse here? So what's happened here, first of all, let's go to this side. I am growing greens. Now I understand the importance of greens. Incidentally, I have noticed that as a heavy meat eater, I've stopped eating so much meat. Now, why is that? Is that because I think meat is not good for you? No, it's not that. It's because my body is being satiated from the food in my garden. And because the food in my garden is laden with nutrition, because my soil is so good, I don't desire meat. You see the difference? I don't think our ancestors used to eat a lot of meat. That would be sometimes, and I think it was given as a medicine, especially if it's quality meat. That's why people heal when they eat meat and only meat here, because we're so diseased. I'm not saying everybody, but there's a lot of people that do. I did. When I had Crohn's, it was just meat I was eating after I'd healed by drinking bone broth. You've got to understand, it's all about what you're eating, when you're eating, who you are, your ancestry, your genetics, the condition you've got, and what you need, because we are generally a diseased world. So I've noticed, and I never thought I'd say this, is that I know where my food comes from when I grow it. When I grow it, not from the shops, no. And when I eat this, look at this. I know this soil is so nourished. It's got chicken poop in, which has been well rotted. I fed my chickens when I had them. And it's got everything that I grew in my garden, plus the soil that's already here. And I've nourished it. Organic matter. Now, these are dark green mustard greens that are growing, and they grow in the greenhouse over winter, and I might try them outside as well. As they grow, I'm going to have to thin them. I'll eat the thinnings and space them out. There's some more here growing. Look, they've germinated in the greenhouse beautifully because the soil is so good, full of nutrition. Now, on another note, you can see I've brought the herbs in. This is full of herbs. I've got here lavender. I've got all the thyme that I grew, lots of thyme. I've dried some. I might dry some more in the house. I don't have the sun anymore. This is lemon thyme. I'm going to cut this up and dry a lot of that. And all the rosemary is in. I still have to prune that one. That one I've pruned. I've only taken a little bit off of it because they die so easily. Parsley. I'm going to take all the leaves off here. They're not going to waste, and I'm going to dry them. Just in the house, on a tea towel. Let them dry. Yeah? Make your house functional. It doesn't have to look like one of these minimalist bullshit houses that are all for show because people are attached to their identity. I've got basil here. It's looking sad, but I'm going to take these in today and take the basil, put it on the windowsill and use it. And then I've got these foxgloves, which are the first year. I got these from seed, and remember, I grew them, those of you who've been watching, and these will be planted out next year. They're biennials, so they flower the second year, and they're beautiful. I'm going to give a whole load to my mum. She loves them. In fact, that's why I grew them, to be honest. Now, over here in pots, I've got lots of fenugreek. Again, herbs. I'm going to cut these off and use them in cooking when I'm making spinach or something. Or dry them. You can dry them in the house, on the windowsill, near a radiator. Lots of fenugreek. Look, everywhere. Everywhere there's soil, I've grown fenugreek. Now over here, I've shown you this before. There's more fenugreek, but I've also got spinach growing, but I made a mistake because there's lots of wheat coming out from where the chickens used to eat their seeds. I don't know, barley wheat. So I don't know if the spinach is going to make it, but I also sowed some spinach plants here, and I don't know whether that's going to come out. Let's wait and see what happens. I really don't know. Lots of leeks. They're still here. Look at the amount of leeks, and I think I can overwinter them. So I've been making soups as well, which I'm going to share with you as well. Now, I think that's kind of it in the garden. Oh yes, let me just show you here. I've planted my spring bulbs in lots of pots. They're everywhere now, and I've got a few more to plant. You can see these fleeces. If you have tender plants outside, cover them with fleece. If you've gone out to the garden centre and bought these, read the instructions on the plant and put fleeces over things to protect them from the frost. You know, this mint here, Moroccan mint that I bought, it's looking a bit unhealthy, so I'm just going to do a little bit of research on how to, do I put it in the greenhouse? Does it need to stay warm? What do I do? I've been snipping off the top and using the mint regularly. Lots of things. And this area here, look at these dahlias. What is it? We're in October and these dahlias are flowering. Look at these. They haven't flowered yet. Do you think they will? I've kind of staked it because they fall, but they're flowering now. It's crazy, but they're beautiful, aren't they? Look, orange. There's an orange one there. Love orange. Now, if you've got these, this is a Tracheospermum jasminoides. It's a jasmine, scented jasmine, and it stopped flowering. So I have yesterday been pruning it. You've got to be in the garden, you know, doing these things. I've been pruning it right down. Bulbs, more bulbs. Yeah, so the garden is getting ready for winter. Meanwhile, I'm getting ready for winter, and I have made a couple of things. That rose hips, you might have seen that I had gone foraging for rose hips, and I've made this rose hip syrup. Get some out and show you if I can. Don't even know where it is now. Oh, here it is. There's 3 or 4 jars. So rosehip, you can see I've already had a load, and I had sweetened this with some jaggery. Can you see it's very syrupy? I haven't got time to get a spoon out now. I'd sweetened it with jaggery, and I think I'd put too much in. I've learnt my lesson. Next year I'm going to sweeten it with honey to make the syrup. But what I do now is I give it a mix, put it into a little, you know, one of these little plastic dispensers to drink it, and I add lemon juice to it. Next year I'm going to put very little honey. It is quite sharp in taste, like sour. So, but my palate and is getting used to it. But also, if I'm doing this for others, I'll put a little bit more honey in for them. And now you've got a medicine which is made with local wild rose hips that I cooked, very high in vitamin C. And even if you do gently cook it, you've still got huge amounts of vitamin C because it's got 100% more than any oranges or anything like that. Rose hips. Go for a walk and find them. They're just roses. Go to wild, find wild roses, not cultivated ones that have been sprayed and genetically modified. But find, I think they call the wild rose a dog rose. I don't know why they call it a dog rose. I don't know. But anyway, you'll find these little red things. Go back to my previous videos, you'll see them where I collected them. Or if you watch the Instagram account, I just post pictures on that you can see alongside after certain videos. So go and do that. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. I'm going to talk to you about sleep in the next video. I've learnt some more information on sleep, which supports what I've already talked about and read. Go back to my very first video 7 months ago where I talked about sleep and why we sleep and the importance of sleep. And then I'm going to add more to it in the next video, and it's mind-blowing stuff that once you understand what happens biologically in the body at the time you sleep, the times are so important, and the number of hours, what happens during that cycle of sleep, you're not going to, you'd be stupid if you care about your health and then don't start to take action to sleep at the right times and for the right amount of hours. You're just saying, I actually don't care and I want to die early. The very first core principle of health is sleep. Without that, nothing else matters. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. That is nature's key medicine for human beings, key healing, key detoxification is sleep at the right times for the right number of hours. It's not about I can't do it. It's about knowing what's important and then working towards it. That's key. It's everything you do. It's not I haven't got the time. You have to make the time. And if you're night shift workers, then you have to improvise around that to see where you can get as close to it as possible. There is always a way. Change your thinking. Have a lovely Saturday.